Brian Callahan. Who's that, you ask? Well, that's the guy the Titans just hired as their head coach to replace Mike Vrabel. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Brian Callahan getting hired by the Titans, as he is expected to develop Will Levis at the quarterback position. For the people that do not know anything about Brian Callahan, well, he has been the offensive coordinator for the Bengals since the 2019 NFL season. His most notable accomplishment has been quote-unquote developing Joe Burrow into an elite quarterback in the NFL. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So here it is. Did the Titans make a good decision in hiring Brian Callahan? Unlike what Titans fans are telling me, I'm going to give you guys the real answer, which is no. The Tennessee Titans did not make a good decision in hiring Brian Callahan. In fact, this hire borders on borderline disastrous. I cannot believe the Tennessee Titans went in this direction. I understand that the Tennessee Titans need an offensive-minded coach in order to help Will Levis develop, but that was not the offensive-minded coach the Tennessee Titans needed. What did the Tennessee Titans need? Well, quite frankly, they never should have fired Mike Vrabel to begin with. Mike Vrabel should have stayed as head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Mike Vrabel is not the reason why the Tennessee Titans have fallen down in recent seasons. In fact, one could say Mike Vrabel is the reason why the Tennessee Titans were still somewhat relevant despite being in a loaded AFC, despite being in a loaded AFC South division, despite the fact that the Jacksonville Jaguars, Houston Texans, and Indianapolis Colts all seem to have their long-term future resolved at the quarterback position. Well, the Tennessee Titans have quite frankly been at a disadvantage compared to those three other teams, and for them to still be competitive in the AFC South division, that's actually been pretty impressive in my mind. You look at how the Houston Texans, they have a superstar quarterback in CJ Stroud. If you guys haven't been following what I've been saying about CJ Stroud all year, make sure that you click the channel name so you can go ahead and see my videos on CJ Stroud. I've made a whole bunch of them. I've been super high on him. Then, of course, you look at the Indianapolis Colts. I know that Anthony Richardson was injured this past year, but have you guys seen the coach the Indianapolis have? Shane Steichen is an offensive mastermind. This guy knows how to get the most out of quarterbacks. This Anthony Richardson guy is going to be a star before you know it. The only thing that's going to stop Anthony Richardson from being great is his health. If Anthony Richardson can just stop getting injured, he's going to be a really good player in the National Football League. And then, of course, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they have a solid head coach and a solid quarterback at their hands. Yes, I understand the Jacksonville Jaguars just had an epic collapse, but that was because Trevor Lawrence got himself injured. That wasn't because Trevor Lawrence sucked. That was because Trevor Lawrence got himself hurt and he tried to play through the injury. And then the defense of the Jaguars decided to take a nosedive right around that time. So that's why the Jacksonville Jaguars epically collapsed. But when the Jacksonville Jaguars are healthy, they're as good as any team in the AFC. There's a reason why they were still in the running for the #1 seed in early December. That's because they're a really good football team. They just need to get healthy and get Trevor Lawrence in protection, because if they can get Trevor Lawrence in protection, they're going to be a good football team in the AFC South. My point is the Tennessee Titans are the doormat of the AFC South, and I don't see this hire changing anything. Let's look at what Brian Callahan does, okay? Is he a great strategic guy? I have doubts about that. This guy didn't even call plays for the Cincinnati Bengals. Zach Taylor called the plays for the Cincinnati Bengals. Brian Callahan really didn't contribute a whole lot to those meetings. In fact, I would say that Brian Callahan was one of the last reasons why the Cincinnati Bengals were so good on offense. When I think about this Bengals offense, what do I think about? I think about the play calling of Zach Taylor. I think about the great quarterback play of Joe Burrow. I think about the great mentorship from Joe Burrow that made Jake Brown a competent quarterback in the National Football League. I look at the fact that they had Joe Mixon at the running back position and the fact that they had Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. To be honest, Brian Callahan was just there for the ride. He contributed as much to the Bengals' success as Eric Bieniemy did for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, obviously, Eric Bieniemy is not going to be a head coach in the National Football League this year, rightfully so. This is not a race matter, that's just speaking facts. Eric Bieniemy did not do a good job calling plays for the Washington Commanders this past year. I know some people are going to say, oh, he made Sam Howell a competent quarterback, but did you see the rest of the offense take a step back? Whatever happened to using Brian Robinson in the run game? Whatever happened to using Antonio Gibson in the receiving game? Anyways, my point is, Eric Bieniemy is not head coaching material, and neither is Brian Callahan. You know what I think this hire was all about? It was about control. It was about power. It's about the organization wanting to make change just for the sake of making change. And if you don't believe me, listen to Amy Adams Strunk. Who's Amy Adams Strunk, you ask? That's the Tennessee Titans owner, and she released some statements about firing Mike Vrabel and wanting to go in a different direction. And I have a clip for you guys to watch. Roll the film.
I have high expectations, and I'll never apologize for that. And these fans deserve a great team, and they deserve a championship brought to the city. And that's what we're going to work towards. And I'm prepared to make the hard decisions to hopefully get us there sooner. This team has a bright future. We have Rand, we have a promising young quarterback. I mean, the sky's the limit. We've got cap space. We've got a great draft position. Things are bright for the Titans. I'm really very, very optimistic, and I'd like to thank the fans for hanging with us this year. Our season was unacceptable, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there sooner rather than later.
I can't believe what she said. She was talking about how the Tennessee Titans had a disappointing year this year. Are you kidding me? The Tennessee Titans overachieved this year. You look at that Titans roster and you're thinking, how did that roster even get to 6 wins? Because let's see, they got Will Levis, who was a day 2 pick at the quarterback position. He actually overachieved this past season and looked competent at times. That was not a statement a lot of people thought about Will Levis before the season started. You also look at how they have Derrick Henry on their last legs. He's definitely past his prime. You also look at the fact that their number 1 receiver is a washed up DeAndre Hopkins. And then you basically came and list the rest of the receivers for the Tennessee Titans, and they've basically been ripped apart any type of talent on offense, because every time the Tennessee Titans have acquired talent in recent seasons, the Tennessee Titans have traded away their talent. You look at how AJ Brown was a superstar receiver in the making, but the Tennessee Titans traded him away for what ended up being Treylon Burks. Obviously, Treylon Burks is a scrub for the Tennessee Titans. As for the statement that Amy Adams Strunk, the owner of the Tennessee Titans, just said, that was a statement David Tepper said years ago. Let me use my Carolina Panthers as an example. I remember when the Carolina Panthers fired Ron Rivera in 2019, and David Tepper talked about how he was not going to accept mediocrity moving forward, and that he had high expectations, and that Rome was not going to be built in a day. Obviously, you look at what happened to the Panthers in the next 4 years, and they've been doing nothing but losing games week after week after week. He had essentially turned the Carolina Panthers into the Cleveland Browns of my generation. My point is, the Carolina Panthers have turned into the laughingstock of the National Football League, and to see Amy Adams Strunk make similar statements about Mike Vrabel and wanting change just for the sake of making change, this is a dangerous strategy she's playing with, because if this hire doesn't work out, watch out for the Tennessee Titans in terms of being a dumpster fire in the making. I can't believe the Tennessee Titans hired Brian Callahan. As for Brian Callahan, yeah, I don't really have a lot of hope for him on the Tennessee Titans. I'm not even that high on Brian Callahan as a candidate anyways, because what is Brian Callahan's calling card? He's supposedly been an offensive coordinator, but he didn't even call the plays for the Cincinnati Bengals. And then you look at his resume before that, he really hasn't done anything of significance other than hanging around in low-level positions. Yes, he was a Super Bowl 50 champion, but he was a low-level assistant for the Denver Broncos. In other words, Brian Callahan hasn't done nothing. He is basically the offensive-minded version of Dennis Allen. What I'm trying to say with that is this hire is uninspiring. He's not a motivator of men. He's not a great in-game strategist, and he is definitely not a disciplinarian. My point is, Brian Callahan is not cut out to be a head coach in the National Football League. He is a career coordinator, and there's a reason why he's been a career coordinator up to this point. It's because teams don't see head coaching qualities in him, and I don't see head coaching qualities in him. As far as the real reason why the Tennessee Titans hire Brian Callahan, I think this reason is rather simple. It's all about control. It's pretty clear that Amy Adams Strunk wants to be more involved within the football team. It's pretty clear that the general manager that they hired last season wants to have more control on his team, and Brian Callahan is an easy yes man to get along with. We all know that Brian Callahan can get along with people at a pretty high level, and I think the Tennessee Titans were looking for a yes man at the head coach position. Obviously, Mike Vrabel was not willing to be a yes man, rightfully so. You look how Mike Vrabel took Ryan Tannehill to an AFC Championship game, for goodness sake. Mike Vrabel got fired not because he was a bad head coach, but because he was handed a trash roster year after year. You look at how he was never given an elite quarterback whatsoever. You look at how every time they had elite talent, they basically traded them out of Tennessee. And you look at how Mike Vrabel had to work with essentially nothing in Tennessee. And for Mike Vrabel to finish his tenure with an over 500 record, I'm actually very impressed with Mike Vrabel. I'm actually kind of low-key surprised that Mike Vrabel hasn't gotten more interest in the coaching market, but I guess it's because the coaching market right now is oversaturated with good coaches on the coaching market, so that might be why Mike Vrabel hasn't received a ton of interest. But my point is, the Tennessee Titans never should have fired Mike Vrabel to begin with, but Brian Callahan only got hired because he was a yes man. I know they keep saying that he was an offensive-minded guy, but just because you're an offensive-minded guy, that doesn't mean you're going to be a good hire automatically. Look at Frank Reich for an example. He was an offensive-minded head coach when he was hired by the Carolina Panthers. Look how that turned out. Yeah, I know it wasn't Frank Reich's fault, but still, I got to make an example out of this. It's pretty obvious the Brian Callahan hire is not going to work out. There were several candidates better than Brian Callahan. If I was the Tennessee Titans, I would have hired Bobby Slowick. I understand that there's Bill Belichick, Jim Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, and Ben Johnson all in the market, but I don't think this was a place where good head coaches were willing to go to. Maybe they should have given this job to Bobby Slowick, a guy that I believe will be a good head coach in the National Football League, but he doesn't have quite the brand name yet, so maybe they could have gone for Bobby Slowick, but I don't think Brian Callahan is an inspiring hire for the Tennessee Titans. I don't think the fan base of the Titans should be loving this this move whatsoever. I know some of them have defended the move on Twitter, but it honestly reminds me of when the Carolina Panthers defended the Matt Rule hiring. Obviously, we know how it worked out for the Carolina Panthers. It didn't work out for them whatsoever, and I don't think it's going to work out for the Tennessee Titans. Be prepared to finish in last place in the AFC South division, Titans fans, because this is going to be a trash football team for years to come. I don't like the Brian Callahan hiring, and it's going to take me a lot of convincing in order to get me out of that position, because I just don't see anything inspiring about Brian Callahan. He's not a great in-game strategist, he's not a motivator of men, and he's not a disciplinarian. He doesn't really do anything that stands out as a great coach in the National Football League. So that is why the Titans did not make a good decision in hiring Brian Callahan, as this hire will end up being disastrous for the Titans. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @Dustin Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin Tran and @Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below. Check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.